The halls smelled like disinfectant and hormones, the signature scent of Jefferson High. It was Monday morning, and the students shuffled in like zombies returning from the dead. Lockers slammed. Someone laughed too loud. Football players strutted past like they owned the floor. And then, she walked in. Aaliyah Carter stepped through the front doors wearing a black hoodie, fitted jeans, and Air Forces cleaner than most kids' futures. Her eyes scanned the hallway, not nervously, but like someone trained to assess a threat. Calm. Controlled. Some stared. Some whispered. One girl raised an eyebrow and muttered, "Did we order a new cast member for our little show?" Aaliyah kept walking. Her posture was upright, shoulders back, eyes forward. She wasn't here to make friends. She was here to finish high school and stay the hell out of trouble. But trouble? Trouble had other plans. At her locker, Aaliyah was trying to figure out the lock combination when a voice sliced through the air like nails on a chalkboard. "Hey, new girl." She turned. A blonde in designer everything was staring her down like she'd found a bug in her salad. "I'm Brittany. And this is my hallway." Aaliyah blinked. "Didn't know you owned real estate." Laughter flickered behind them from a few students. Brittany's eyes narrowed. "Oh. You're funny. Cute. Let's see how long that lasts." Aaliyah turned back to her locker, unfazed. But her fingers paused just slightly on the dial. She'd seen this before. Different city. Different names. Same game. And it always ended the same way. Word traveled fast in Jefferson High, faster than gossip on Snapchat. By second period, nearly everyone knew about the moment between Aaliyah and Brittany at the lockers. The version varied depending on who told it. She clapped back so hard Brittany's lip twitched. I swear Brittany was shaking. The new girl. She's like, dangerous calm. You feel me? In the cafeteria, the tension buzzed like static. Aaliyah sat alone at the edge of the room, tray untouched. She could feel eyes on her. Some curious. Some hostile. Most just waiting to see what she'd do next. She chewed her gum slowly and looked out the window. A flock of birds exploded from a tree outside. She smiled slightly. Freedom looked like that. But inside, she was scanning. Always scanning. Body language. Exit routes. People who moved like predators. People who moved like prey. And Brittany? Brittany was strutting toward her with her girl squad, like a shark that smelled blood. New girl. Brittany sing-songed. Didn't see you at the cool table. Oh, right, you wouldn't know where that is. Aaliyah didn't look up. There's no cool table. Just a bunch of insecure kids trying to be louder than their insecurities. The cafeteria went quiet. Brittany blinked. Her lips curled into something plastic. Then, without warning, she slapped Aaliyah's tray off the table. Food scattered across the floor. Oops, she said, smiling. Aaliyah stood. Slowly. Calmly. Their eyes locked. Everyone could feel it, something had shifted. Aaliyah leaned in just a little, her voice low, steady. You want to see what happens when you corner someone who's been trained not to break? Brittany tilted her head. What's that supposed to mean? Aaliyah picked up a plastic fork from the mess, balanced it between two fingers like it weighed nothing. It means next time you touch me, I won't just pick up my tray. The next day, Jefferson High was a hive of whispers. Brittany's meltdown in the cafeteria was now legendary. She hadn't been publicly challenged like that ever, especially not by a girl like Aaliyah. New. Black. Unbothered. Dangerous. People were choosing sides, even if they didn't realize it. Some started nodding to Aaliyah in the halls, subtle signs of respect. Others kept their distance, eyes wide, unsure whether she was a ticking bomb or the start of a revolution. As for Brittany, she was fuming. She stormed through the gym during PE, her ponytail swinging like a weapon. "I'm not letting that girl embarrass me and get away with it," she spat to her squad. One of them, Lexi, hesitated. "Maybe just let it go. She's different." "Exactly," Brittany snapped. "She thinks she's better than us. That we should be scared of her. I'm gonna remind her who runs this school." Later that afternoon, Aaliyah was heading to her locker when she found a note taped to it. The handwriting was sharp, dramatic. "Behind the gym. 4 p.m., you wanna act hard? Let's see it." She held the note for a long moment. Then she exhaled through her nose, tore it in half, and slid both pieces into her pocket. She'd hoped she could fly under the radar here. Guess not. 3:59 p.m., behind the gym. The wind was cool. The sun had started to dip, casting long shadows across the pavement. Aaliyah stood alone, hoodie up, fists relaxed at her sides. She didn't pace. Didn't check her phone. She just waited. Then came the voices. Brittany and her girls rounded the corner, loud on purpose. Behind them, a small crowd had gathered, phones out, hungry for drama. And behind them, almost like he didn't want to be seen, was Chad. "Look who showed up," Brittany sneered. "Didn't think you had the guts." Aaliyah tilted her head. "You think this is about guts?" She stepped forward. "This is about you needing a stage. And me being done letting people like you write the script." The circle tightened. Phones were up, recording. The crowd buzzed with anticipation, half of them expecting drama, the other half hungry for blood. It was high school justice. No rules. No teachers. Just pride and pressure. Brittany stepped forward first, eyes gleaming with something between fury and fear. "You talk big," she said. "Let's see if you hit big too." Aaliyah stayed still. Breathing. Centered. She wasn't scared. She wasn't even angry. She was ready. "Last chance," Aaliyah said quietly. "Walk away." Brittany scoffed. "From you? Please." She swung. A wild, arrogant, messy right hook. Aaliyah barely moved. She sidestepped with precision, like she saw it coming before Brittany even twitched. The punch sliced through empty air. Gasps. Before Brittany could turn, Aaliyah tapped the back of her leg with a low sweep, not hard, not mean, just enough to make her stumble forward and spin. Controlled. Measured. "Is this a fight to you?" Aaliyah asked. "Or just a show?" Brittany growled and rushed her, both fists up now, swinging reckless. Mistake. Aaliyah ducked the first blow, caught the second midair, and flipped Brittany clean onto the pavement with a move so fast the crowd barely saw it happen. Crack, the sound of Brittany's back hitting the concrete echoed. Silence. Even the phones dropped for a second. Aaliyah stood over her, breathing steady. Not panting. Not smirking. Calm. "You don't know me," she said. "And you don't want to." Brittany groaned, trying to push herself up. Her mascara was smudged. Her pride, shattered. And just then, a voice cut through the air. "Holy sh*T. It was Chad. He stepped through the crowd, eyes locked on Aaliyah. "You're something else." Aaliyah looked at him for the first time. Really looked. Then rolled her eyes and turned away. "I didn't do this for you," she said. By the next morning, the fight had gone viral. Not viral, not TikTok famous, but enough that the entire school had seen it before first period. "Did you see the spin move? She didn't even try. That was like, ninja level." Brittany got wrecked, bro. Aaliyah walked through the halls like a ghost with gravity. People moved out of her way. Some gave nods. Others just stared. But no one mocked her anymore. Except Brittany. She showed up with sunglasses and a hoodie, trying to pretend it didn't happen. But the bruises on her ego were louder than any injury. And Chad? He couldn't stop looking at Aaliyah. In chemistry class, he sat next to her, uninvited. "Hey," he said, voice low. Aaliyah didn't look up from her notebook. "Hey. That thing yesterday," he began. "Not proud of it," she said. He paused, like he didn't expect that answer. Still. It was badass. She finally looked at him. His eyes were soft. Curious. Not mocking. Not afraid. Something else. "Why do you care?" she asked. He shrugged. "Because I'm tired of fake people." "You're not fake." A beat of silence. "You ever hang out?" he asked. She blinked. "With quarterbacks who date girls who try to slap Trey me in the face." He smirked. "I didn't say her. I said you." The bell rang. She packed up without a word and stood. At the door, she looked back once. "I'm not your rebound." Then walked out. The thing about losing power is this. People don't always notice you've lost it, until you try to prove you haven't. And Brittany Lawson was trying way too hard. By Thursday, she was back in full makeup, hair curled, smile fake. Strutting down the hall like nothing had happened. Like her face hadn't kissed the concrete just days ago. But inside, she was seething. Worse than the humiliation, was Chad. He wasn't hers anymore, not really. He was present, sure, but distant. His eyes followed Aaliyah in the hallways. Not with lust. With respect. With something Brittany had never earned from him. That cut deeper than the fall. So she started a new plan. Not fists. Reputation. During lunch, Brittany sat with her squad, fake laughing way too loud, when she opened her phone and pulled up a photo, a blurry image from the fight. Aaliyah, standing over her. Dominant. Dangerous. She edited the contrast, darkened the shadows. Added text over the top. Violent much? Scary much? Ghetto much? She hit post. Then sat back. "Let's see how the school likes their new hero now," she murmured. Meanwhile, Aaliyah sat alone again, but this time, it felt different. People still looked, but with something closer to awe than suspicion. Then her phone buzzed. A text from a random number. A screenshot. Of the post. She stared at it, expression unreadable. Not anger. Not fear. Just, tired. She closed her eyes for a second. She tried to avoid this. Tried to stay low. But girls like Brittany didn't want peace. They wanted control. That night, Aaliyah was in her garage, barefoot on the concrete floor, practicing. Every strike, every block, sharp and focused. Fighting wasn't for violence. It was her way of staying sane. Staying centered. And right now, she was shaking off the mask. The hallway was thick with whispers. Screens lit up everywhere. Brittany's post had spread like wildfire, edited, twisted, dipped in dog whistles and dressed as concern. She's scary. She snapped too fast. People like that bring trouble. But as Aaliyah walked through the crowd, none of it touched her. Her expression was unreadable. Calm, the kind of calm that makes insecure people nervous. She stopped at the school bulletin board, where someone had printed out the post and pinned it up. Slowly, she pulled a Sharpie from her pocket. And wrote across it, in bold, all caps letters. Strong is not equal to dangerous. Silent is not equal to weak. Black is not equal to your punchline. Then turned and walked away. The hallway froze. Someone clapped. Then another. And another. By the time Aaliyah reached her locker, the ripple had become a wave. The tide was turning. Fast. Later that day, in the gym, Chad caught up to her. You really don't back down, do you? Aaliyah looked at him. You say that like it's a flaw. I say that like it's rare. He looked nervous now, not in a scared way, but in that teenage boy realizing he's not the main character kind of way. I was thinking, maybe sometime. Aaliyah stopped him with a small smirk. No. Chad blinked. Wait, what? You're cool, she said. But I'm not interested in being anyone's prize for switching sides. She stepped past him, calm and collected. And just before exiting the gym, she turned back slightly. You had your chance. You chose silence. By Friday, the school had changed. Not the walls. Not the teachers. But the energy. You could feel it, like something fake had cracked and something real was finally breathing through. Aaliyah stood in front of her locker, headphones in, eyes focused. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't flexing. She was just existing. Fully. Unapologetically. And that, somehow, was the loudest thing she'd done all week. Across the hallway, Brittany watched. No crowd around her. No loyal posse. No spotlight. Just silence and the sting of being irrelevant. She tried one last move. Marched up to Aaliyah, arms crossed. So, what now? You gonna run this place? Aaliyah took her headphones out. Calm. Measured. I don't need to run it, she said. I just stopped letting you think you do. Brittany flinched, not visibly. But enough. You don't scare me, she muttered. Aaliyah smiled. That's your problem. You think this was about fear. It never was. It was about respect. And with that, she walked off, not to applause, not to a theme song, just to her next class. Like a girl with nothing to prove. Because she didn't. Chad sat on the steps, watching her walk past. He stood up. Took a breath. Aaliyah, wait. She stopped, turned. You really meant what you said, huh? About me, about not being your prize. She nodded. I meant every word. A pause. Then he smiled, genuinely this time. Good. You deserve better than that. And for the first time since she'd arrived, Aaliyah smiled back, just a little. Then turned, slipped her hoodie on, and walked away. Alone. Proud. Free. Not just the new girl anymore. The girl who changed everything.